All right, hello and welcome everyone to Chess and Coins with Bob Bair. So Bob has quite a bit of experience in the industry. He's been collecting since 1956, going through change on a newspaper route. He became a dealer, a small-time dealer in the 1980s, and then did a little bit more of that after retiring from his profession as a teacher and principal in 2010. So he was also a chess coach during that time. So today we're going to be learning about the link between chess and coins. So Bob, I will let you take it away. Audience members, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A at the bottom, and we will get around to some of those at the end.
Well, thank you, Liana, for the kind introduction, and I'm appreciative of the opportunity that Numismatic Portal has given me and so many others to talk about subsets of our wonderful coin collecting hobby. And here's one. You're definitely a kind of a minority position, but it's got some interesting stories to it, I think, and some real connections between the game of chess and the coins that we love so much. Let's take a look and see what some of those connections are. If I can advance my screen. Okay, why doesn't it want to advance? Oh, there it did. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Well, chess, the game of life, pretty much. You know, and you don't have to be a chess aficionado to enjoy this presentation, I hope. But chess is a wonderful game that goes back, century, or sorry, back to about the 6th or 7th century AD. And here's an example of one of the many coins that have been created to honor great chess players or countries hosting chess tournaments, for instance, or the game of chess itself. And we'll take, there are a lot of them. I'm not going to bury you in the detail of everything, but we'll take a look at some of the significant coins and chess players, for example, that have graced our world. So what are the connections between chess and coins? Well, they've been around a long time. Coins first used in part of what is now part of Turkey, Lydia, in the 7th century BC. And chess started in the 6th century AD in kind of India and China. And to this day, the two countries are disputing who really invented chess or developed it. There's a lot of popularity to both of our fields that we're looking at today. There are roughly 30 million coin collectors in the world. That's a lot, but hey, even more chess players. 600 million chess players around the world. It's a huge, huge sport in, for instance, much of Europe. You know, just as we have great basketball and baseball players, and we collect their cards and stuff like that, great chess players in many parts of the world are like sports heroes. They're very famous people. Well, what about coins and chess? There have been quite a few done, roughly 17 to commemorate chess itself, 10 to honor great chess players, and 19 to celebrate a country that hosted a major chess tourney, like a world championship. We're not going to look at every one of those. The detail would be overwhelming, but we'll look at some. And guys, here's what got me started on this project of seeing, you know, what are the connections between coins and chess. There was a major chess tourney held in Europe, in Breslau in 1912. Frank J. Marshall, we're going to spend a little time on him and on his greatest move later, was in a game with a grandmaster, Stefan Levitsky, in the tournament. And Marshall was in really a tough spot, kind of late in the game. And Marshall made what to this day is viewed as certainly one of, I looked it up a little bit. I never saw his move ranked at less than number 3 of the greatest single chess moves ever made. And, you know, a couple of the places said this is the greatest single move ever made in chess. And all right, back in 1912, before TV, before radio, before the internet and Facebook and all that, people would go to major chess tournaments, especially in Europe, again, where it's so popular, and in arenas where the seats were arranged like a basketball court in a way, but even closer, so you could see the moves that were being made down on the floor by the players, the chess players, and you'd sit in your seat, you know, up on this steep row of with rows of seats where you were close enough to see. After this move was made, there was a stunned silence in the audience as they looked at this audacious, it looked like an almost suicidal chess move, and the spectators just froze. But they knew enough about chess that as they looked at it and began to think, why did he do this? They realized, oh my gosh, this is great. And they threw gold coins, you know, who knows, British sovereigns, Napoleons, who knows, maybe Russian, Russian 5 ruble gold coins, who knows, but they rained down on the chessboard, either to honor this move, or perhaps, you know, there's some discussion about this, to pay off bets where Levitsky resigned after this move. He quit. After he looked at it and analyzed it, he realized he was done for. And once he quit, maybe it was people settling their bets and throwing gold coin. All right, I lost, you know, fine, here's what I bet, raining down on the board. But all right, let's take a look. Here he is, Frank J. Marshall. At that time, certainly one of the 10 best players in the world. He never made the world championship, but he was good. And doesn't he look just like a chess grandmaster from 1912 should look? Back in the days when you could smoke stogies while you were playing in international grandmasters in a major tournament. But there he is studying the board. I don't think it was, you know, this particular game, but we'll take a look at that in a sec. Well, here's the position, and I'm not going to, you know, go into mega detail here. Some of you know chess and some of you don't. Basically, Marshall is black. Let's just take a quick look here. If you count up the pieces, right now, Marshall has an extra piece, the knight, which is all the pieces have a value based on the value of the pawn. The pawn are, you know, there are 5 white pawns down in the row closest to you guys. And a pawn is considered fine 1. A knight has the value of 3. A rook, like the black rook that's way over to your right, has a value of 5. And the queen, the most powerful piece on the board, is considered to have the value of 9 pawns. All right, so what's happening here? Rooks, for instance, move vertically and horizontally any number of spaces, you know, where there's clear space. If you take a look slightly to your left, the white rook, Levitsky has just made his move, and he's threatening the black queen, Marshall's black queen, with his rook. Meanwhile, over on the right-hand side of the board, Marshall's black rook is being threatened by a pawn. Pawns captured diagonally, so on the next move, theoretically, the white pawn that's right in front of the king could capture Marshall's rook. So the deal here is that Marshall has 2 pieces threatened, like that rook, the white rook that's worth 5, attacking Marshall's black queen that's worth 9. The white rook is protected by the white queen. Geez, Marshall doesn't want to, you know, give up a piece worth 9 pawns in order to get one worth 5. That's a losing deal, even though he's currently ahead by that black knight, which is has the value of 3. But now he's got 2 pieces in major trouble. You can only protect one of them, right? Well, Marshall's going to have an answer that we'll look at, you know, later in this project. But those of you who are our chess players are looking at this position saying, this is interesting. That Marshall playing the black pieces has some problems here. We'll come back to that. Well, let's look at some of the coins made to honor great chess players. Here's one of the greatest, the Jose Raul Capablanca, known to his loving fans as Capa. Is generally considered today to be one of the top 5 chess players that ever lived. If you look at the top left picture, here's a little bitty boy playing. Actually, that's his dad. And here's the story on Capablanca that's kind of interesting. His dad was playing a game of chess against a friend of the dad's, while 4-year-old Jose Raul Capablanca is sitting there watching the game. And Jose Raul has never been instructed in the game, told anything about the game. I mean, he's too little. He's 4 years old, right? So he's sitting there just watching these guys play. And his dad inadvertently made an improper move. The knight, that piece that we saw a bit ago, moves in an L-shaped pattern, and it always changes from a white square to a black square, then from a black to a white, and so on, as it moves in its L-shaped pattern. And his dad inadvertently put the knight down. It had been on a black square, and he put it on a black square. No, that's an illegal move. So 4-year-old Jose Raul Capablanca, without saying anything, reached over, picked up the knight, and put it in its proper place. And he'd never been told the rules of chess, the game of chess, or anything, but he just looked at it and he understood. If you look at the bottom, there he is as a young man. By age 12, he was Cuban. First of all, when he was 4 years old, after he'd made that move and he and his dad were going home or whatever, he said, "Papa, I can beat you at that game." His dad kind of like, "Come on, you don't, I've never taught you anything about the game. How can you say that?" Well, they went home and the kid beat his dad at age 4 without ever having had the game explained to him. At age 12, Jose Raul beat the champion of Cuba. And by 1921, he was born in 1888. So he would have been, what, 33 then. There he was, champion of the world. And Cuba issued various coins to honor him on the 100th anniversary of his birth. A couple silver proofs. There's the 20 peso, which they were all issued as commemoratives with very limited mintages. And there was a copper nickel 1 peso with Capablanca's name on it, and chess pieces honoring him, honoring Cuba, and honoring the game. So Jose Raul was just one of those geniuses that understood right away how to do this. He never, even as world champion, he never had a chessboard in his house because he could size up a position and know what to do right away. He is considered to be the best speed chess player ever. That's where you have a very limited number of seconds to make each move. He could just do it. Zip, 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 because he could see and sense the position, even at the international grandmaster level. Okay, let's take a look at another. Here's Iron Tigran, he was called, Tigran Petrosian from Armenia. This guy was very frustrating for grandmasters to play because he was defense all the way, but he was just impregnable in his defense. He was like a stone wall. Iron Tigran, because he couldn't be easily broken at all. He was champ in the mid-1960s. On his 70th birthday, this nice silver proof to honor the Armenian world champion was issued by Armenia. In a limited, couple thousand copies, but avidly collected, just the same as a commemorative of their great chess champion, their hero. Okay, here's one for one of the first of the Russians, Mikhail Chigorin. He was a runner-up twice, but a very good teacher and philosophizer, if you will, of, all right, what makes up sound strategy in the game of chess? How do we do this? It came to be considered later when the Soviet Union started and the Soviets went absolutely crazy over chess and over winning world titles. There came to be a Soviet chess style based on what this guy did. And here's another very pretty silver proof issued, on a commemorative basis to honor Mikhail Chigorin. Okay, here, Paul Morphy. Now, this one isn't literally a coin, it's a medal. Q. David Bowers has indicated that somewhere between 10 and 25 of these medals exist in any condition or whatever. Morphy was a mid 19th century New Orleans player. He considered the first great American. The picture that you see, that's the basis behind the medal. Here's Paul Morphy. He's another one of those genius guys like Capablanca. He is sitting in the chair facing away from where 8 chessboards have been set up with good players. And Morphy is sitting there, and then, Joe Smith will say, okay, I just moved my bishop from this square to that square. And Morphy will say, I understand. Okay, move my knight to, whatever. And he's able, without looking at 8 different boards, to keep track in his brain, in his mind, of 8 different games, and each of the moves made on those 8 separate boards by his opponent, and then what his move is as he goes through. He won all 8 of the games, by the way, showing his genius. And this medal, then, he was kind of a first American hero in the game of chess, with this private medal having been issued to honor him. Here's Mikhail Botvinnik, world champion for really a long time. It's hard for older guys like me. And by the way, I was never anything more than a duffer in chess. I loved the game, but no good particularly. But here's Botvinnik, world champ for 15 years. Botvinnik was one of the relatively few chess champions who he was an electrical engineer, and he was one of the early guys working with computers. In fact, he was instrumental in programming the first chess computer games, which were initially primitive, but obviously by the time in 1997, when IBM's Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov, the world champion, they improved enormously. Normally, a computer has to look at every single possible move made, and then based on some point algorithm, decide what it wants to do. Where a human chess player can look at a board, a good player, and come down with just a relatively small number of moves that make sense. But the chess programs obviously have been refined and improved, and the algorithms updated to the point where they beat the best human player in the world. There was a British grandmaster named David Levy who in 1968 bet 100 pounds with a friend of his. Levy was also a computer guy. He bet that there would be a computer program that would beat the best human player by the end of the century. He just made it. He won the bet when Kasparov lost in 1997. Here's kind of a nice guy. This guy's generally considered Paul Keres from Estonia, dubbed the Crown Prince of Chess. He is probably the best player to never get the world championship. And there are a couple reasons for that. One, World War II came along when he was at his prime, and nobody was playing chess. They were worried about what's going to happen in the war. Also, of course, the Soviets controlled Estonia after World War II, when Keres was still at his prime. And the Soviets were very, very interested to, thump their chests and say, our system is the best in the world, and that's why we have so many world champions. When the Soviets controlled Estonia, it is generally believed that before a big tournament that was leading to the world championship, if Keres was going to play a strong Soviet player that the Soviets wanted to win, Keres would get word that it would be nice that the Soviets were certainly hoping that their player would advance in the tournament. And if you think about the way the Soviets operated, that sort of thing says a lot. So Keres never got the world championship, but I think we understand part of why World War II and just the domination of Estonia by the Soviets. Now we come to some of the tournaments, if you will, that had coins issued for them. Yugoslavia had a multi-coin chess issue series to commemorate the 29th Chess Olympiad that they held in 1990. They issued some in gold, 3.5 gram proofs, roughly 1/10 of an ounce or so, silver, couple sterling silver proofs with mintages of 10,000, copper zinc set 20,000 coins or so. And those things, just like baseball cards or football cards or whatever, are bought by sports fans today in parts of the world where chess is so popular. Those things were snapped up and bought by people who really admired chess and its players. And it was a big deal when a country, for instance, hosted a major tournament as Yugoslavia did here. Here's a famous one. Now, this isn't a coin, it's a medal. The US has not issued any coins which have a denomination and are issued by the US Mint. That's what you got to have a coin. It has to be issued officially by a mint and have some denomination on. Everything else is a token or a medal. But some of you may remember in 1972, the big world championship match between Bobby Fischer, a great American player, a little bit of an eccentric personality, let's say, but a great player, against Boris Spassky from the Soviet Union. It was done in Iceland. Well, this was hugely popular even in the US, which isn't really a chess nation, because symbolically it was kind of the USA versus the USSR, sort of like the Olympics where the crowds chant USA, USA, USA. People got fired up just about the competition between the two opposing Cold War nations. There was a lot of TV coverage of the Fischer-Spassky match as a result, and a lot of hype. And there was great interest in chess, at least over the short term, after Fischer won the World Championship. And the fact that it was publicized and on TV led to a lot of interest. Maybe the same thing's going to happen with the mini series, the Queen's Gambit, that has surfaced now, may encourage women to get involved in chess. Just as with coins, which tend to be male dominated historically, chess has been male dominated, but those women who are involved in both fields, Liz Coggin, for instance, or Laura Sperber, or many others, they're good. They belong in the field, and there are some excellent female players, and may well come to be some more because of the Queen's Gambit on TV. Well, the Iceland Chess Federation made some medals. Here's a 22 gram, that's about 2/3 of an ounce of 22 karat gold, and also sterling silver commemorative medals of the match with pretty decent likenesses of Fischer and Spassky on them. And then on the reverse side, the Reykjavik, Iceland, and the date, and the celebration of the World Championship. There are all kinds of medals, or silver rounds, if you will, made with chess on them, just as silver rounds. Geez, guys people collect those because there are all kinds of private mints that will come up with, okay, let's do a silver round, a 1 ounce silver round that shows thus and such. And there will be people who are interested in the hobby or the field or whatever it is, who will then buy the silver round, both for the value of the 1 ounce of silver, but also, hey, look, here's something I like that's commemorated. I just took the Queen and the King images. They're similar, and then there are the other pieces that you could buy as well, to have a complete collection of silver rounds that show all the chess pieces that are on the board, all the 8 pieces. Here we come to China issuing. Here's the dispute between India and China. Hard to tell which country has the better claim for having invented chess. Very hard to tell. They each have claims to that. And so, here China came out basically to reinforce their claim as the country inventing chess. They came out with a gold and also a silver coin showing the early beginnings of chess. China has a claim based in part on the Oriental game of Go, which has similarities with the way the game of chess has evolved. And at the same time, India has a game Chaturanga, which also has recognizable elements that have resurfaced in the game of chess and the way that chess works. They each have claims based on Go and Chaturanga at about the same time. But here's China, laying claim right off the bat saying, we did it. We're issuing these coins because China is where it happened. Well, okay, could be. This is kind of a pretty set, silver and also gold. This is the home of the chess city and host in 1996 and 2006 of a couple of chess world championships. It was basically a Soviet guy who probably was involved in something similar to the mafia, who had a lot of prestige, but also a lot of money, wanted to make his home city the chess city. So he built, like a museum and a huge hall where major tournaments could be held. It's declined a little bit since 2006. And these coins were issued then also to promote the city and the game of chess at the same time. For a decade or so, this was one of the world centers of chess and chess interest, obviously. And being in the Soviet Union, where there are tons of players and tons of people interested, this was a well collected and a big deal kind of a series too. Oh, okay. We come back to Marshall's game now. All right. Even if you're not really involved in chess, let me kind of try to set this up for you and then give you just, a little time to think, gosh, if I were Marshall, what would be the greatest move here that I could make? I mean, even knowing that helps. All right, let's look at it again. Marshall is black. He's ahead a knight, value of 3 pawns right now. However, his black queen is threatened by the rook, the white rook protected by the white queen. Meanwhile, on the right side of the board, his black rook is threatened by the pawn directly in front of the king, since pawns captured diagonally. They go straight ahead, 2 squares on the opening as possible, otherwise 1 square at a time, but they capture on a diagonal. Levitsky looks as if, even though he's down a knight, it looks as if he's going to be making a comeback by taking either the black rook of Marshall's or the black queen, and putting the game back on an equal basis. So, all right, all you people watching this, if you were Frank J. Marshall sitting there smoking your stogie, looking at this dilemma that you have, what the heck are you going to do to protect your queen, to protect your rook, to maintain your edge, if possible, of the black knight, and to go on? And I'll just mention this in international play in particular. If you have any kind of a lead, even a 1-pawn lead, playing an international grandmaster, usually the player who has the 1-pawn lead wins, because the other player concedes, resigns, knowing that he's not going to get back that pawn. Of course, obviously, there are times where international grandmasters will see something and will come back and overcome that material disadvantage, even of 1 pawn. Marshall's ahead 3 points by way of the knight, but can he keep that lead? Or has Levitsky come up with a way, by threatening 2 pieces at the same time of Marshall's, to end up putting the game back on a more even basis. Well, I'll give you a little bit of time to look at that, and there won't be a discussion on this, but see if you can come up with the Marshall's move, which is perhaps the greatest single chess move ever made, ranked generally certainly in the top 3 single chess moves ever made in the history of chess. See if you can come up with it. I'll give you about 15 seconds yet to look at the board and see if you can do it.
Someone in the Q&A has suggested QG3.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to see the move on the next slide, and I'll work through the possibilities in terms of what the move was and why it works. I'll mention this right off the bat. Levitsky, after he looked at this move and analyzed it, and just before the shower of gold coins came down on the board, basically Levitsky realized, oh my gosh, what has he done here? I mean, and here's a hint too. What Marshall did has been described as at least audacious, if not suicidal. So that's a hint to help a little bit, even for, if you guys, if you people out there aren't chess players per se, if you know you're looking for something that just seems off the wall crazy, that's not a bad hint to have going in. Okay, well, we've certainly had our 15 seconds. All right, here we go. Are you ready for this? Here's the solution. Look at what Marshall did. He moved his black queen over directly in the same row as the king, where the black queen can be taken by any one of 3 pieces. The black queen could be taken by the pawn that's directly in front of the white rook, because pawns capture diagonally. The queen could be taken by the pawn that's over to the king's right, that's just behind the black rook, because that pawn can capture diagonally, or the black queen can be taken by the white queen. I think I mentioned, the queen can go any number of spaces on the board, diagonally or vertically or horizontally. She can do pretty much whatever she wants and travel wherever she wants. But here's Marshall's queen jeopardized by 3 pieces, where it looks like the queen can be taken for free. Well, no, it can't. And let's see why. All right, let's suppose that the white pawn in front of the white rook captures the queen. Boom, moves over diagonally, the queen is off the board. All right, watch what happens here. The black knight in its L-shaped pattern goes from the black square it's on to the white square in an L-shaped pattern where it goes 2 down and 1 over. In doing so, its next move could kill the king, because once again, it's going to do an L-shaped pattern and go 1 forward to the black square and then 2 to our right and kill the king. So, and the knight can't be taken, so the king has to move. All right, so, and that's when chess players say check, as the black knight moves down to that white square. Check, the white king has to move. So there's only 1 square to go to. It's the white square way over. It's H1 way over to the right. So fine, the king moves there. And now remember that white pawn in front of the white rook has gone to kill the black queen. Okay, if you notice way up at the top, there is a black rook that can come down and capture the white rook, and rooks move vertically and horizontally. So the black rook comes down and takes the white rook. And once again, the king is in check, because on the next move, the black rook could kill the king. And now there's no place for the king to go. So that move is fatal. It leads to checkmate. All right, let's pretend that the white pawn that's over to the king's right side, that's over by the black rook, let's suppose that captures diagonally, captures the black queen. Okay, there goes the black queen off the board. Once again, the black knight can come down in that L-shaped pattern, 2 down, 1 over, and say check. Only now there's no place for the white king to go, because with that white pawn having captured the black queen, now the black rook covers and threatens that white square that's to the king's right. So the king is once again dead. Checkmate came from the Iranian shamat, the king is dead. Check is a warning to say your king is threatened. Checkmate is it's over, your king is dead. So here are 2 moves with the pawns that lead to checkmate. White's done for. All right. What happens if the white queen takes the black queen, moving, straight down 2 squares, boom, killing the black queen. There we go. The black queen's off the board. Once again, the black knight does its L-shaped pattern, 2 down, 1 over, and says check. The king once again has to move to the white square over to his right, so he does. Then the knight kills the white queen by moving in an L-shaped pattern, 2 over and 1 up, and once again has check. Now both queens are off the board, and the king is in check. Well, the king can move back to the square where it is currently shown, because once again, the knight can't be captured, or we run into that same sort of checkmate situation based on the black rook that's way up at the top of the board. If the knight is taken by either pawn, it's going to be the end, or it can't be done. Okay, so fine, check. The king moves back to where it is now. And given that advantage in time, now the black rook can get out of danger by moving along, by moving from our right to our left and going to a safe square or going to an attack square to one of the pawns, whatever. But the thing is, once again, black is still up a knight, and the queens are off the board. In an international grandmaster game, when you're ahead a knight and the queens are off the board and there isn't all that much power left on the board, you're done for. And this is why Levitsky resigned as soon as this incredible, audacious, apparently suicidal move of the black queen is made. So there we are, guys. That's kind of the story. And in fact, that's pretty much the presentation. I didn't want to overwhelm you with too many coins or too much detail about chess champions. And it's not like I know everything about all those areas, but I've found fascinating, and I hope you have too, the extent to which there are similarities between our games. Here's a quotation I wanted to do from Iron Tigran Petrosian, the Armenian, who was chess champion in the 1960s. He was asked one time, how do you describe chess? And I'm doing this quotation because the way he described chess is there are many similarities in what he said to what we do with coin collecting or coin investing or whatever. Here's what Petrosian said in answer to the question, how do you define chess? What is it? He said, chess is a game by its form. Well, coin collecting has elements of a game to it if you think about it. Petrosian said, chess is an art by its content. Well, we're in a subjective field. For example, grading coins is an art in a lot of ways, even if it has, some theoretically scientific base. Petrosian says chess is a science by the difficulty of gaining mastery in it. Well, there's a science to coin collecting as well, and it has to do with acquiring as much knowledge as you possibly can. And whether it's about grading or history of coins or a certain denomination or whatever, you do the best you can to gain mastery of coin collecting and coins. He said, chess can convey as much happiness as a good book or work of music can. Well, hey, coin collecting can also convey as much happiness as a good book or a work of music or a movie or, you know, whatever else. However, says Petrosian about chess, it's necessary to learn to play well, and only afterwards will one experience real delight. And that describes, I think, coins in a way. The further you get into the history, the knowledge, the art and the science of coins and coin collecting, the more enjoyable it becomes and the extent to which you experience real delight. So there we go. You know, there's a connection. The gold coin game of Frank J. Marshall versus Levitsky in 1912 is a connection. And I hope that this presentation has also, you know, given you some room for thought and made a connection between these two areas as well. So, all right, I'm open to, you know, whatever comments and questions that you have through the Q&A for me. And I'm once again very appreciative of the opportunity from Liana and the numismatic portal to be able to do this for everyone. So, okay, Liana, is anything out there? Have you got anything for me?
We do have some questions in the Q&A. If you could go ahead and hit stop share at the top of your screen.
Stop share.
Should be a narrow red button.
Oh, yeah, there
very
it is.
top,
Okay,
yeah.
and thank you for talking me through the tech, Liana.
No
okay,
problem.
stop share. Here we go.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, so we have someone in here who would like to know if you have a USCF chess rating.
No, I never played in the tournament. I love the game, and obviously I was once a history teacher and a literature teacher. And to me, history really isn't places and dates. It's people. It's people just like us. And that has always interested me. So when I got to be this chess coach of the freshman who ended up fourth in the nation and his teammates who were also decent, you know, I got into the game then more than ever and thought, boy, there's probably some really interesting people that have been involved in chess. And sure enough, you know, when you read about a Paul Morphy who can not even see the boards except in his mind and play 8 games at the same time against good players and win them all, you think, holy cow. There have been guys in coins that have had that kind of genius. I mean, many of them. I'm not going to defend Walter Breen's personal lifestyle at all, but Walter Breen, for example, oh man, if he ever saw a coin, he remembered every detail of it. He had that kind of gift, a mental gift or whatever, and it's similar to a Paul Morphy or a Capablanca, who at age 4, never having had the game explained to him, can correct an incorrect move and then say, Papa, I can beat you at this game, and then do it. And at age 12, beat the champ of Cuba. You know, by age 30, he's world champ for 6 years. These guys, we're all special people with different gifts, but I've always admired someone who has a gift like a Capablanca or like a Paul Morphy or like a Walter Breen, who then maximizes that gift, learns as much as they can, and then does things with it, hopefully for other people too. I guess that in part is what was fun. One of the things that was fun about being a teacher for me.
All righty. What is the most attainable coin that depicts something from chess?
You know, because most of these were, well, the most obtainable, okay, would be, remember Paul Keres, the crown prince of chess, the Estonian who had a Soviet thumb on him after World War II, and, you know, who was delayed by World War II in terms of competition. His €2 coin was made in quantity. 200,000 were made. Each country in the European Union, I guess, could have its own €2 piece. And Estonia, because of Paul Keres being, you know, their very prominent native son in a sport that everybody in the country knew about and loved, they made Keres the figure on we could go back and look at it if you want, but basically with 200,000 €2 pieces, those are out there, I would imagine, at pretty much the same value. You know what, a euro is somewhere around $1, I guess. I haven't looked in a long time. So for a couple of bucks, I guess you could get a Paul Karras coin. The others would be harder because many were done as proofs, as almost commemorative type coins in very low mintages. And not only would, and a lot of them in gold and silver. So you'd have to deal with the value of the gold and silver plus a very limited mintage of coins that are way more popular around the world than even in the US, to the extent that, you know, over there in Latvia or whatever, someone has a commemorative coin and they're keeping it because they love chess or they love the subject that's on the coin or whatever. So if someone wanted one single coin on chess, I'd go for the 200,000 minted Paul Karras euro coin, because it would be inexpensive and it was intended to circulate and did, and it's quite available, I'm sure.
Alrighty. We have a John in the comments. Hi, Bob. It's really cool to meet a fellow numismatist / chess player / educator. How does one become accomplished in all 3 areas?
That's interesting that, you know, here's a bond between me and someone I've met before based on our interests. And, you know, my hope in coming up with a coins and chess presentation was that there would be others out there that would actually think this topic wasn't completely off the wall crazy. Maybe it is. We'll see. What have I accomplished in each? You know, I'll just say generically, whatever any of us do in this life, in this world, in my opinion, if we can in some small ways touch the lives of other people in positive ways, we're successful, even if nobody knows who we are or what success means. But for example, as a teacher, every teacher knows that you try to get every student in your class, to get them inspired, to give them a direction to go in, to give them the tools they need to advance in some way. And you never get them all. Nobody gets them all. But here and there, now and then, you just know that somehow you've made a connection for a kid in your class where you've touched that person's life. With most people, not all, if I ask someone, hey, do you have a favorite teacher, someone who absolutely influenced your life? Almost everybody will say, oh yeah, my 2nd grade teacher did thus and such for me. Or, oh, I had this science teacher who got me so inspired to be a scientist, and on and on and on. But this is why, this is what's important and why we do what we do, with the idea that, geez, you know, for me, for instance, I would have no trouble naming 3 teachers who changed my life. And I just felt going into teaching that I was returning the favor, maybe, for someone out there. And sure enough, just like every teacher, I have had some, I bask in the warm smile, you know, years later, of having someone contact me and say, hey, you remember me? You changed my life. And I say, well, gosh, someone did that for me. I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to do it for you. So there, you know, that's a long-winded answer to that question, but whatever success I've had has been with those individuals that I've been blessed and privileged and honored to somehow have reached out and touched them in some way that changed them in a good way.
Love that response. Let's see here. I really enjoyed the presentation and never thought of combining the 2. As a longtime chess player and collector, it was a treat. Did the Franklin Mint or others ever strike a coin in honor of Bobby Fischer or Big Blue?
I don't think so now. And of course, if the Franklin Mint was kind of interesting, there's some stories there, but those wouldn't technically be coins because they weren't issued by a mint with a denomination. But the Franklin Mint did issue medals / tokens commemorating lots of things. I do not know if the Franklin Mint did something in 1972 to commemorate the Fischer-Spassky match, but I would not be a bit surprised. That would be a neat internet search or an eBay search you know, just to see Franklin Mint, Bobby Fischer, and see if anything comes up. If they're out there, they're probably done in, you know, at least sterling silver would be my guess, but they're also probably not too expensive. Here we are again, you know, if someone wants a single piece to link coins and chess, maybe, just maybe, something like the Franklin Mint thing would be available. Something like the Paul Morphy medal, where there are 10 or 25 known. I saw one of those go in the Stax Bowers auction. I think it was about a year ago for roughly $400. Well, that's a lot of money, maybe for a medal. On the other hand, 10 to 25 known to exist, you got a rarity there. And a lot of people get pleasure out of just having a rarity like that, especially if they have fond feelings for the game of chess as well as coins / medals. But that person interested in the Franklin Mint, hey, go for it. See what's out there. Could be. That one I do not have a specific answer for, but I think there's a good possibility that there might be something out there for you.
All righty. Do you know of any famous chess players who also had coin collections?
Yes. And chess players will recognize this name. A guy named Fred Reinfeld, who he was a grandmaster in the, gosh, let's see, 1930s for sure. Might have been in the 20s and 40s. Yeah, he was still playing into the 40s and I think into the 50s. He wrote a book. He was also an avid coin collector. He wrote a book called The Coin Collector's Handbook. If you want to, you know, internet search that, Fred Reinfeld, Reinfeld, Coin Collector's Handbook. I'm sure you could get a copy of that for next to nothing. But Reinfeld also authored a number of kind of instructional books in chess. Anything from, you know, famous games, for example, or I'm not sure if he did one, for instance, on Capablanca, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. But he wrote neat books on chess that would help chess players improve their game and learn more about it. And he definitely did one because he was a coin guy, a coin nut as well. He did one for coins as well. He's the only guy that I know of offhand who was really prominent in both areas. There may well be others. I wouldn't be surprised if there are others, because, you know, as Petrosian said when he was describing an art, a science, a game, something like a movie or music or a book that inspires you. You know, because of that connection, there probably are people with a leg in each camp, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, this one does come back to chess at the end, so bear with me. I found a heavy 1700s Swedish 2-ore coin in a junk bin at a coin show. One side was marked up. I was told that it was most likely used as a game marker, possibly for chess or checkers. Do you collect markers or items improvised for chess pieces? And what is the most unusual improvised set you've heard of?
I love questions like that. I don't have a collection like that, but I have heard the same kind of thing, that, yeah, there were early tokens, if you will. Once again, they're not really literally coins, but tokens or medals that were used, gosh, anything from counters to, you know, who knows, maybe bets, just like when you play poker, you got, you know, plastic chips or whatever. I'm not surprised. And you know what? I bet there are junk bins at coin dealers' places all over the country where there are things like that available for a song, you know, for almost no money at all. I don't have any, but that's interesting. Geez, I don't personally have, for instance, the €2 piece, but I think I'm going to try to locate one. I'm sure there will be one on eBay or whatever, just because, fine, it's been fun putting this presentation together, but gosh, if I'm going to do that, I ought to at least have some kind of a memento or souvenir of this. So I'm inspired now by having done this and by you giving me the opportunity, Liana, along with NNP and the audience who good for you guys for being patient while I'm droning on about different great chess players, or making you try to figure out what the greatest move in chess that chess ever had was. Yeah, it's really been wonderful. This is neat. Got any others there, Liana?
Let's see. I would love to see a Susan Polgar chess coin or medal from either the US or Hungary. Perhaps the increase in chess study will make this more likely. Do you have any thoughts?
You know, I have wondered about that also. Why? I'd be speculating as to why there haven't been medals or tokens or coins for female chess players. Who knows, male-dominated societies or whatever. But that name, I know that name. There are some really good female chess players out there. Why shouldn't there be? What the heck? And we'll see. I'm kind of curious about this, the Queen's Gambit, that people are aware of. I'm hoping that that's going to be an inspiration for anyone to pick up chess, but especially for ladies. I'd love to see that be hey, I can do that. You know, what the heck?
Let's see, and then we have a couple kind of comments here in the Q&A. As a kid, I read Chess in a Nutshell by Reinfeld and never knew he was a coin collector.
Yeah. I have just a small chess library still, and I don't have that Reinfeld book. Geez, Logical Chess Move by Move was Irving Chernoff. I'm trying to think of the title of my Reinfeld book. It's been a long time since I looked. But yeah, I think anyone who pursues chess, you know, with the idea of, well, I want to learn more and get to be better, I bet there's a strong chance that they've got a Reinfeld chess book. But yeah, now this question of, so here's a guy who's an avid coin collector who actually wrote a widely sold The Coin Collector's Handbook. Hey, maybe I'll get that too. That's another thing that I'm going to look on eBay for, or Amazon, to see if there's a used copy of the Coin Collector's Handbook, just to see what Fred Reinfeld, the chess player, coin nut, had to say in the area of coins.
Mm-hmm. And then we had another comment. I'm going to butcher this name. Anatoly Karpov, former world chess champion, has an important collection of stamps.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it kind of doesn't surprise me. I guess I can see the same sort of mentality and interest applying to an area like stamps or coins, for example. Although, boy, to be at Karpov's level, gosh, when was he world champ? In the 1980s, I think. He's relatively recent. He's still alive. But man, to be a top-notch chess player at that level, for almost everyone, you virtually have to devote your life to it. Then there's the occasional exception like Capablanca, who didn't even have a chessboard in his house when he was world champ for 6 years, because he could instantly see a position and know what to do with it. But most guys, like for instance Botvinnik, the guy who was champ for 15 years, even though he was an electrical engineer and a computer guy, he lived chess. Here's a Botvinnik story that I found kind of interesting. You saw Frank J. Marshall with his stogie. Back in the days when you could, publicly smoke. Botvinnik didn't smoke, and his opponents figured out that he could be distracted if they were heavy smokers, and they'd over the chessboard, they'd puff their cigarettes or their cigars or their pipes and blow the smoke in Botvinnik's face. He figured out immediately what they were doing, that they were trying to get him off track. So what he did to train, he locked himself with some very good chess players and heavy smokers in a small room. The smokers were supposed to smoke like crazy to fill the room with smoke. The guy that he was playing, who was like a teammate, a good international player, was also a smoker, and he was supposed to blow smoke in Botvinnik's face with every puff of his cigarette or whatever. So here's Botvinnik inhaling who knows how much secondhand smoke, so he can train himself so that when the opponent in an international tournament tries to screw him up by blowing smoke in his face, that it means nothing to Botvinnik, because he has conditioned himself.
Wow.
But that's the kind of almost obsession, I guess, that you, and just a small example of it, that you have to be super good, even if you're quite talented. There are a lot of quite talented people out there in coins and chess and anything. So what's going to set you beyond that? Well, how far do you want to go? How far do you want to push yourself? And that may make it hard for someone to be an international chess grandmaster and also an avid coin collector. Reinfeldt did it, you know, and here's, you know, collecting stamps, really the same kind of thing, you know, for Karpov. Yeah, tough situation. How good do you want to be, and how specialized do you want to be? Or can you still be a little bit of a Renaissance man? The fact that we have people in our audience who like both chess and coins indicates that there is hope for us who are in that sort of everyday chess player or everyday coin collector category. We're always trying to know more and improve, but we have time and room for family, for work, and for our hobbies that give us the same kind of passion that good music or a book does, that Petrosian talked about.
And we do have another person from the audience saying, I've been an avid chess player since I was 7 and a lover of coins since about the same time. This has been a wonderful amalgamation of both. So apparently we've got quite a few people in the audience who are interested in both.
You know, and the fact that that person started at age 7 indicates something too, because like Capablanca, there must have been some kind of sense or talent, almost ingrained or inborn or genetic or whatever, to start that young and you know, to continue with it. My hat's off to, I didn't start until I was in high school, and like I say, a basic duffer, you know, beyond that, just interested in the game and the people, and obviously the coins and medals too now.
Okay, then I think that is going to wrap us up. Thank you so much, Bob, for a very interesting presentation and combining some topics that I had never heard put together before. So it's been very interesting.
Great fun for me to do so. And once again, a great honor, Liana, that I thank you and NNP for doing. And everybody who tuned in, hey, thank you guys. Great fun for all of us, I hope.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Should I leave now, Liana? Is that?
Just 1 second and I'll end the meeting for everyone.
Okay.
For those of you in the audience, we do have 2 presentations this next hour. We've got Bill Summers talking about coins in English translations of the New Testament, as well as Bob Evans talking about the SS Central America and some coins and other interesting things that were found from it. So both of those sessions should have started if you want to go hop into them. We have a few more left today, so I hope to see some familiar names in the rest of our presentations. Thank you all.